This is Jaden. I'm going to tell you a story about his very bad day. It all started when he slept through his alarm. He had to get dressed quickly and rush out the door to catch the bus. Then, a kid on the bus made fun of him for no reason. And he thought, this is the worst. When Jaden got off the bus, he stepped right into a big puddle and soaked his shoes and socks. And he thought, this is the worst. When he got to class, Mrs. Ford asked him to turn in his homework. But when Jaden looked in his bag, he couldn't find it. He forgot it when he rushed out the door. Then he thought, this is the worst. During class, Jaden couldn't concentrate on anything because he was in such a bad mood. All he could think about was his late start, the kid on the bus, his wet shoes and socks, and his missing homework. That's when Mrs. Ford called on Jaden for the answer. He didn't even know what question they were on. Jaden was silent, and he felt like everyone was staring at him. That made him mad. He slammed his fist down on the desk and shouted, "I don't know!" Jaden immediately knew that wasn't right. He didn't know what happened. He felt so out of control and upset. Now the class was really staring at Jaden, and Mrs. Ford asked him to see her during recess. And he thought, this is the worst. At recess, Jaden went to Mrs. Ford's class. He sat down and she asked what was bothering him. Jaden explained to her all of the terrible events from that morning. Mrs. Ford showed him a jar of water and said, "This jar represents your mind." Then she held out a dish of glitter. These represent all of your distracting thoughts and feelings that play over and over in your mind. She then dropped the glitter in the jar, put the lid on top, and shook the jar. The glitter flew around furiously, just like Jaden's thoughts. "Now, let's see what happens if we stop shaking our thoughts and feelings," Mrs. Ford said. They sat in silence and watched as the swirling glitter slowed down and began to sink to the bottom. Mrs. Ford told Jaden to focus only on the glitter and his breathing. One by one, each piece fell. It was so quiet, he could hear his breaths go in and out. In and out. In and out. He could see his chest rise up and down with each breath. Up with his inhale, down with his exhale. Up, down. He could feel his heartbeat slowing down. He could feel his angry thoughts slowly drifting away. He felt calmer. As the glitter slowed, Jaden's thoughts slowed. His bad day was no longer repeating in his head as much. His bad day stopped bothering him. Jaden just focused on the jar and his breathing, and he felt better. Finally, Mrs. Ford held up the jar. All the glitter had settled down, just like his thoughts and feelings. Jaden smiled for the first time that day. He felt okay. "This is pretty cool. I think we should share it with the class. Some of my friends would really like it too," Jaden said. Mrs. Ford agreed. She told him that they just practiced mindfulness. Mindfulness is paying careful attention to what is happening now and noticing when your attention drifts away. Mindfulness can help you stop thinking about things from the past. It can also help you not think about things in the future, like a big test you have coming up. One of the ways we can practice mindfulness is by just focusing on our breathing. If we try to sit still and breathe for a few minutes a day, it can really improve the way we feel. There are many other ways that we can practice mindfulness. Some days, we may want to use the mindfulness jar. And other days, we may want to do a sun salutation. There are some days we may want to do lazy 8 breathing. And other days, we may want to do an awareness game. Jaden's class has been practicing mindfulness for the last 3 weeks, and already they've noticed a change in their classroom. They are calmer, more caring for one another, and more focused and able to ignore distractions. Of course, bad things still happen, but now Jaden doesn't react so quickly. He just pauses, takes a few deep breaths, and thinks everything will be okay.